I'm off to do some errands today. I'm going over to the farm market. This is my outfit. It's a beautiful sunny day, so we're gonna take advantage of it. When most of your job involves being attached to your phone, it can get so easy to not leave, and you find yourself going, how did it become 4 o'clock already? So I started this new thing where on Fridays, every Friday, I get out of the house to do my grocery shopping. I go to the farmer's market. I pay attention to some self-care and some plant care in some cases, but just making sure that I am taking a moment to just do something extra for myself. Yes, that is some free feet shots. Okay, it's Friday and I'm doing my grocery shop. I don't know that anything has happened yet so far that's that interesting in this vlog, but I'm going out. I'm getting some time out of the house. Dad's doing great. His recovery's going well, but I just need a little time out of the house. So we're going to get groceries at the local farm market. And yeah, it's a beautiful sunny day. Okay, I'm headed up to the store. I just have to quickly run an errand. Dad is napping. He has been taken care of. 20 minutes in and out. I'm due for a coffee chat soon. So this is a perfect visual for how my day is going. The milk settled on the bottom with the syrup, and the coffee went to the top. Yikes. Okay, time to head out to the library because I need to return a bunch of books. Here is the outfit of the day. Okay, I just went to the library and oh my god, it's such a windy day. My hair's a mess. I just went into the library to return books and I broke out into an art show. This, the Fraser Valley Water Media Society was having their spring art show and it was so beautiful, and I talked to the loveliest man there. I am so out of touch with this community that I lived in for 30 years. I didn't even know this existed. But I love watercolor and I've been really out of doing my watercolor and I want to get better at it, and maybe this is the motivation. I just love this so much. Okay, just stopped at the post office. I'm having an errand day. It's thrilling. It's so nice to get out of the house. I have been with Dad 24/7 since he got his shoulder replacement surgery, and he is 2 weeks in. He's making a lot of good progress and I was able to leave him today. He's having a nap. And I'm just doing a couple of quick errands. It's so nice to get out, but it is humid outside. It is like sweaty, muggy, awful, but it's only 12 degrees. So I have the air conditioning on, but it's also like sticky. Ugh. But anyways, I'm enjoying getting out of the house. Next up, bread, and then maybe the bakery. It's Friday grocery shopping day and it is pouring rain. I am running quickly to the stores because all I want to do is be inside, have a coffee, and read a book today. Whew. Okay, off to the next stop. Oh, so many raindrops. It is time for another coffee chat. This week, I used my mocha pot. I made myself an Italian roast illy coffee. I needed this. Oh my god. It's been a day. Okay, it is Friday. It is the 15th of May. If anybody has been wondering what the cadence of these vlogs are, I always post them on Thursdays, but I break it up into a monthly cycle. So it's the 1st to the 15th and then the 15th to the end of the month is how I sort of divide the two halves. So sometimes you're going to see it like right on the 15th and sometimes it's going to be the following Thursday. So it's the Thursday after, basically twice a month, but depending on the weeks, nobody really cares as much, do they? It is pouring rain out. We have had weeks of sun here in Vancouver. We have been so lucky. It's been like sometimes close to 30 degrees. But today the skies opened up and gave us classic Pacific Northwest, and I love the rain so much. So it was nice. I was laying in bed and I was like, I should get out of bed. And then I just stayed there and fell asleep again because all I could hear was like the pounding, pouring rain. I love it so much. I know a lot of people complain about living in the Pacific Northwest. You will never catch me complaining about that. It is my favorite part. I love the rain. And I hate the snow. I'm originally from Ontario. I left there when I was a little kid, but I will not be going back to a snowy climate. That is not my path. My office is a total mess. There are books everywhere behind me. I definitely need to clean up my TBR pile. I am a little behind on reading. I feel like I'm always behind on reading. And I've just been dealing with a lot of stuff lately. If you've followed along at all with my dad and his journey, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer last year and went through surgery in December. And then we've been helping him recover from that surgery. But in the middle of it, he needed a full shoulder replacement unrelated to the cancer. He just wore it out. He's a very active man. The surgeon told him he was very muscular. But he plays a lot of sports, always has, and he has quite large muscles, I guess. And so they've cut him open, but that means that we are sort of around the clock caring for him. And he is a wonderful patient, but making sure that, he can't, he can feed himself with his left hand. He's right-handed, but he's learning how to use his left hand. But cooking and getting him coffee and getting him anything, and there's this like ice thing that you have to put on the shoulder, so we'd have to strap him into that multiple times a day and take it off and put it on and take it off and put it on. But I can't complain. I didn't have to go through surgery, so he's being really brave. But we have another minimum 4 weeks in the sling and then lots of rehab to go through in addition to still going through the cancer stuff. So it's been a big family time recently. I'm so lucky. I'm an only child, but I'm very close with my parents. I live with my parents, and I actually love it. Like, I love being here as they age. I know probably a lot of people would think that's strange, but it works for us. So every time we do these coffee chats, I like to sort of think about sort of career stuff and being a content creator, stuff that's on my mind that might be really helpful and relevant to others, especially since I've worked for so long. It's been coming up 26 years now that I have worked in some form of media or another, from being a photographer, a writer, communications, photojournalist, like all kinds of stuff. You name it, I've done it. I'm sort of like a creative unicorn in that I can do like the web design and the graphic design and the photo shoots and the planning and the strategy and the research and the market stuff, like all of that, which really just means that I have been bouncing through a lot of careers for a lot of years. So I had to accumulate a lot of skills. But this week I want to talk about branding, because I'm updating and getting together my own media kit. But it made me laugh because this week my friend Bailey, she sent me like a reel saying that some paint company, I don't remember what paint company, these were their most popular colors of the year. And I laughed because the colors that they came out with was like this blue and this sort of like burgundy and this green. And I wrote her back and I was like, oh my God, those are actually my brand colors. And she was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, you know my brand colors? And she was like, of course I know what your brand colors are. First of all, she's an artist, so she would notice those kind of things, and she knows marketing. But second of all, she was like, I know you, and this makes sense. And I think it made me really, first of all, it made me be like, good job on the branding. But also, it made me so glad that she could instantly recognize my brand, because one of the things that I've always struggled with, and I think a lot of creative people struggle with this, is when you have to sort of commodify yourself and be like, I am a brand. I can't even say it with a straight face. It sounds a little silly, but it's different when I work for a client, when I go like, this is your brand, this should be your font and your colors and your thing, and that personifies who you are. It's so much easier for me to do that for a client. When you do it for yourself, you have to consider like, what font am I? Am I a sans serif? Am I whatever it is, you know? And it feels strange because you're a human, not a brand. So I got together my brand guidelines last year. And originally I had done them for Raincoast Vegan. That was actually kind of easy because with that I'm saying like, it's still me, but I put it under this vegan name. So, you know, it's a green and a blue and a whatever. And I wanted to keep Kat Arnett, my own brand, close. And so Raincoast Vegan has to do with what we call the Raincoast here in BC, the Pacific Northwest. And then when I spun off into Substack, Evergreen Current, because evergreens, the, you know, Pacific Northwest, the boreal forest, living in Canada, as well as, you know, keeping current, keeping up with things. But current is also very water. And my personal everything about me is very tied to the Pacific Northwest, I feel. I'm not like a hiker. I'm not like a outdoorsy type of person. So it might seem a bit strange, but I feel very strongly attached to this landscape. The ocean and the trees and the mountains all feel so part of who I am. So when I was picking out stuff about me to try to make it into a font, like with Raincoast Vegan, one of the fonts I originally chose, and I probably will end up changing it, but I chose this font called Cocktail Shaker. And I love it because I really love Googie architecture, like Googie style from the 1960s, that sort of atomic age futurism period. Think the Jetsons. I love that style. I love jazz music, you know, as well. I love things that have a bit of that retro / futurist feel at the same time. And so I loved Cocktail Shaker as a font, but it's not the most legible. So I have sort of transitioned into using a lot more of New Spirit. I find that New Spirit has a good blend between being a nice readable modern font, but still has like a bit of an air of the typewriter to it. And for me, it's really important that even though, like, if you don't know anything about fonts, you're probably thinking, what is this girl talking about? I think when you look at a font, it really does have a personality. And that might be subconscious for a lot of people who aren't picking them out. But for me, I wanted to pick something that fit with who I am. I've chosen to keep going with Evergreen. So Evergreen Current, Evergreen Post, Evergreen Book Club, because every other name I thought of didn't really work with who I am. And when I look at the pictures that I take and the work that I've done, it is very informed by this landscape. So I wanted to carry that through. I think also being a vegan, I'm very tied to nature in that way. So while I might not be a mountaineer, you're never going to find me on the grouse grind. It still feels very true to me. But what I thought was so great was that Bailey could see something unrelated and immediately go, those are your colors. And she just knew that without seeing my brand booklet, without seeing my media kit, she knew that that's who I was. One of the biggest things is that people often, when content creators are starting out, or when people are being like, I'm gonna have a media kit and I'm gonna approach brands, or however you're trying to, even if you just have your own business, your own brick and mortar, your own consulting business, you're trying to think about how you brand yourself. I think it is very easy to fall into the trap of aspirational branding, like, or copying what somebody else is doing. Oh, I like how she's doing it, I'll just do that. But being fake comes across so quickly. Like, oftentimes you'll see a brand with a person and you'll just be like, that feels disjointed, because they're not representing themselves properly. And I do think it is worthwhile to sit down and really think about, like, who am I? What am I trying to do? Especially in this age of AI, and I'm sure I just keep harping about AI to everyone I talk to, but now more than ever, we need to be authentic. We need to sit here with messed up hair and like a chunky sweater and be ourselves, because I mean, have you been online? It is so hard to tell what's AI. It's getting so realistic, not in a good way, realistic in a way that it can like fool somebody on TikTok for 30 seconds at a time, but it's still scary. And we have AI summaries doing work. Like the New York Times recently got into trouble because one of their writers used an AI summary as a quote from Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader in Canada. But it was later called out, not even by the editors, not by the writer, not by the editor, by a reader who was like, I can't find him saying this anywhere in any speech at all. And it turned out that the writer used an AI summary and didn't look for the original quote. And they had to print like a retraction note to that as well, and then send out a big thing to all of their freelancers to be like, hey, in no uncertain terms can you use AI. But it's a scary world out there. And I think for a lot of us creative people, you know, I've been doing this for, like I said, 26 years now. And the one thing that I think has been consistent is, even if you look back at some of my earlier branding when I was a photographer, one of the things I used to have printed on a t-shirt was Kiss My Flash. I had a website, kissmyflash.com. I still have the website. But when I look at the fonts and stuff that I chose then, there isn't a ton of difference between the color branding and the font branding. I think I used like more bright teal, like a electric-y blues. But the font was very close. It's very similar into what I'm doing now. I use a lot as well with my evergreen post with my mail club. I tend to write by hand because that can't be replicated. That is me, you know? And so I'm sort of looking back at my career so far and seeing like, okay, there has been a real through line. Like I have been consistently myself and so authentic to myself all these years, and it's evolved. You know, I'm not 24 anymore, but there is a through line. There is a building. And I think that's so important. And when I look at younger people or people who are like mid-career like me, and they're going, what's going to come for the future? How am I going to combat all these people using AI? Because I firmly believe we need to combat it. Like I think it should go away, but also be confident in your imperfections, I think would be my advice. Be true to yourself, because the machine looking stuff that's being replicated by AI, it all looks the same way. It's all boring. We can all tell your restaurant is using the same flyer. The food is fake. I am finding such a backlash starting in the creative communities and consumer communities of people being like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want digitized stuff. I want to see stuff that's real. Earlier today, I was reading a post by somebody, I think on Threads, who was saying that their friend thinks that there's going to be like a big arts and craft revival or movement because of AI. And I think they're not wrong. I think they're onto something. I think we are going to see, you know, this has happened in the past with different industrial revolutions and stuff. I think we are going to see a big return, a big push to arts and crafts, to things that are tangible, things that can't be replicated easily, things that are handmade. You know, when we look at our convergence of like through the pandemic, everyone taking up gardening and baking, and a lot of like fiber arts and things that are like the old lost artisan crafts, I think that's going to be the path forward. I think the path forward is through authenticity. I think the path forward is making sure you're a recognizable brand if you're an artist. Stand on it. Be yourself. Lean into being weird. The world needs more weirdness, you know? Not bad weirdness, but like quirky. I think computers can't replicate that, you know? Computers can't be your friend looking at somebody doing paint colors and be like, that's you, I can see you in that. AI is never going to be able to replicate our hearts. That's never going to be able to replicate what it's like to do art. Seth Rogen, and I'm going to bastardize this paraphrasing of what he said, basically he did an interview and he said like, I don't want AI to write for me. I like writing. I like the process. The process is difficult. That's part of it. I don't want it to be easier. And I think we're going to come into a big schism of the people who see creativity as commerce and the people who see creativity for creativity's sake. And it can make money, you know, but I think there's going to be a big difference between the people who don't value it in the same way. And out of that, it's going to be so important to be yourself. It's such a really scary time right now, not just for creatives, for everyone. My weekly evergreen current that I do a weekly roundup of the news that I just switched over to Saturdays now is becoming a big thing about AI every week, because there's so much concerning stuff going on with AI that what started out was like a little tiny column within my weekly column, like a little section. And now sometimes I'm like, I already have a dozen stories in there. I need to eliminate some of them because the news coming out about it is so concerning. The story coming out of Ontario where they found that of the 20 medical transcription AI programs that the province was using, all of them were having problems and like hallucinating information. They were making up drugs that hadn't been prescribed to the patient and putting it in their chart notes. They were ignoring, 17 out of 20 of them ignored mental health information. It was really concerning, really concerning. So in addition to just the environmental stuff that's going on with these people wanting to build these data centers in areas like in Lake Tahoe, they've now said residents next year will no longer have electricity because the electricity is being used by data centers. Like, we are in a very stressful time. I feel like we all feel that, right? But yeah, sometimes it feels like, what are we even doing this for? You know, will I have a job? Will this be anything? It's hard to know. But I feel like I've seen a lot of changes happen. I remember when Instagram came in, we were all like, oh, that's the death of photography. And it kind of was and it kind of wasn't. I've seen a lot of changes since technology stepped in. You know, when I started learning, I was in a darkroom. My first job was in a film lab. And I developed film in the film lab. And I developed film for like the newspaper. Photographers shot film and they would come to me multiple times a day and I would actually process their film. And then more recently, I worked in a digital lab. And there have been a lot of changes between those 2 points. But the thing that remains the same is people still want to capture images of themselves. They still want to have memories. They still value art. And I think we're going to see a resurgence of that. Maybe selfishly, I want there to be more of a resurgence in film. I desperately have a dream of opening up a studio where I develop film and do like hand printing in dark rooms and stuff. I don't know if that will ever come to pass, but God, I wish it would. I would love just to have my own print shop. But anyway, that's my ramble for the week. That's my coffee chat for the week. There's a lot of other stuff going on. I have a ton of reading I need to do. I think I talked about earlier in the video, I've been starting this new thing where I'm trying to do more self-care. And I don't mean that like in a, I really need to focus on self-care. I mean like in a, I was not taking care of myself. The last year was extraordinarily stressful. I've dealt with multiple harassment situations and trolls online and stalking and all kinds of stuff going on, and health issues with my family and not having a job and then finding clients, and like my entire world sort of upended in the last 12 months and I just wasn't taking care of myself properly. So I've started making a Friday tradition. On Fridays I go out and I get my groceries and I go to the farm market and I take care of myself, even if it's for just like those couple of hours on Fridays. I'm giving myself time. And I love going through flyers. My dad has always been the one in charge of grocery shopping in my house, and he goes through the flyers religiously. Every Thursday the flyers come out and he finds out what's on sale. He knows the price of everything, what's a good deal, what's not a good deal, how it's changed over the years. This man is like the ultimate grocery shopper. He's also a really good cook. But he does all the grocery shopping in my family, except for mine, obviously. But I have since also picked up his habit of looking at the Thursday flyers, and although I'm a vegan, so the products are different, I've really figured out how to save quite a lot of money doing it that way. So his advice has paid off. So what we are doing now is you get on Wednesday nights, you can get the flyers early. So you look on Wednesday to see like what the Wednesday sale that's ending, just make sure you got everything, and then what the Thursday you need to get. So what I've been doing is I make a long list. I also write out a menu of what I'm going to eat for the week and prepare a couple of things ahead of time that are really easy, like a dip, a salad dressing. I do some juicing, and then I make like a prepared salad, like a potato salad or something, so that I can have stuff that's in the fridge that's easy to go. because sometimes I sit down at my computer and like 6 hours later, I'm like, I haven't eaten. So I've decided that's how I'm going to take care of myself, is by feeding myself. And I write down my little list that's on sale. I go through the flyers with Dad as well. Now that his arm's a little busted, I'm helping him make his lists. And then I base my menu off of what's on sale. And on Fridays, I go around to my shops and I get the things. And it makes me so happy. And it's silly because obviously I'm going to feed myself. Everybody has to do grocery shopping, but I've turned it into this little like moment for myself that I can enjoy. And I go out early enough so like people aren't getting out of work and there isn't bad traffic. I go sort of mid-morning, early afternoon, and I get myself a little treat sometimes, and it's just lovely. So that is going to be probably in a lot of videos going forward. It's the time where I make sure I get out of the house, enjoy the outside. I still haven't done anything about my garden this year though. There's a lot of stuff I still haven't done. But that is the end of my coffee. I feel like I'm always on the run for these, but I thank you so much for joining me. To all of you who have stuck with me through these coffee chats, I'm really loving it. I'm trying to get more videos up. It's just a matter of having time. I need to get my Evergreen Book Club videos out. I hope you guys are enjoying the books. And I have a special coming out with this package that I received from Chris Paul Rainbows with their new book. So I have a lot of recording to do. Let me do the YouTube thing. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Tell a friend. Share this somewhere, because I would like to keep doing this, and there are very, very few paths to monetization in Canada, and I haven't been able to monetize my channel yet, so I would love to do that, to be perfectly transparent with you. I'm going to keep doing these anyways because I really enjoy it and I love video editing, it turns out. But for now, if you could help me get the word out, I would really appreciate it. If there's any topic that you want me to cover, and if you have any questions, please absolutely leave them below, because I'm always looking for something to have a little chat with you about. And if I could answer anything about writing, photography, communications, marketing, you know, anything I've done professionally for the last 26 years, or any personal stuff you want to know, please let me know. I would love to answer your questions. And yeah, until next time, thanks for hanging out with me. Totally forgot to record this in the coffee chat, but I recorded a video about this previously, so you might have seen it already. I have had multiple instances this month of dealing with people imitating me. I had to start a Facebook account for the first time. I didn't want to. I don't like Facebook. I don't want to be on Facebook. But somebody has been, over the past year, starting up these Facebook accounts using, like, ripping off all of my information. I'll put the video up here. Ripping up all of my information, uploading it, and just pretending to be me. I have no idea who they're talking to. Could be anyone. And Facebook won't take it seriously. So the only thing I could do was like start my own Facebook page so that I could like claim that those people are impersonating me. So if you see me on Facebook, it's just cross-posting from other stuff. I also dealt with this other guy who I think is an AI account that is like ripping off my information as a bunch of other people's information as well, and using it to sort of spread other propaganda. Made a big like AI photo of me crying and stuff, insinuated that I was MAGA. It has been the most wild month, you guys. Wild. Anyways, that's what else is going on in my life, but I totally forgot to mention that in the video. And honestly, it is probably why the biggest thing I'm thinking about is authenticity right now, and being yourself and being like a bit of a mess. I'd rather be a bit of a mess than people find out on this AI thing that's happening. It's just been the weirdest time.